Welcome back, Mr. Wilson in Naligu. As you've seen, that joins us next is the former AIG of Police. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today, sir.
Yeah, good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
Yeah, we've seen several narratives. We're hoping this is not going to be one of them. But most recently is that of the NSA, the caution, the advice to governors or anyone whatsoever who have deployed these thugs for politics, those who try to prevent other parties from having peaceful campaign, as it were. And then the police themselves, they have also put in place a team trying to ensure that security of INEC facilities, above all else, is in place after the unfortunate incident in Ogun. But we've seen since that time another incident in Owerri and some other areas, INEC offices being raised, which raises questions concerning capacity, capability of security agencies to actually ensure that they are ahead of anyone who plans to foment trouble for this election. So from your perspective, having been there, what's the missing link? Why do these things happen in spite of the warnings coming from offices such as the NSA, the IGP's offices?
Yeah, I think there should be more robust law enforcement that is anchored on intelligence and detailed investigation and prosecution. Because if there are no apprehensions of offenders, this might continue. So what I think is the security agencies, they are doing their best, but there is a need to assuage the fears and concerns of the public by working impartially in a non-partisan and an impartial manner that will prove to the public that they have the capability and the capacity. And what I think there is a lot of missing link. I think communication. I don't want to believe that there are no arrests. Perhaps communication with the public and the citizen has not been very robust, so that people get to know. If you see INEC is always there to tell you, give you assurance, or we're going to transmit elections, results electronically, beavers, and give you that hope, that confidence. And I think the security agencies need to match that, especially the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security need to come out, have a communication and media strategy to be able to engage the public. I don't think it's not that I know this, but it has come to a time because there is going to be fear that the security agencies will be used by the incumbent to manipulate the process in favor, so that to remain in power at all costs. So in order to disabuse the mind of the public, there has to be effective communication to be able to deal with the emerging threats, the threats of violence, the actual the destruction of property of INEC, attack on INEC offices in Osun State, Imo, Ebonyi, Enugu states. There has to be something to be done to prove that the security agencies are really on top. They are on top, but I think there is a missing link. And in my mind, is that robust communication, the type we get from INEC, I think should be coming. And you begin to see, because I know that it is impossible that there are no arrest. It's just that the communication, in my opinion, and from our observation, really, that's what I think.
Your question, or should I say your answers, have also raised a number of other issues. It raised a plethora of questions, if you ask me. Because the first thing my colleague raised was the issue about the NSA's broadcast, the NSA's speech to Nigerians. I'm sure he was doing it through the media. As a security man, or I know you're still in the security sector, yeah, that's true. When you look at that sort of statement, what sort of response is it supposed to evoke? What effect, when security chiefs make those kinds of pronouncements, talking directly to people who understand what they're talking about, or who know that the message is being addressed to them, what sort of response are they hoping to evoke? We'll come to the other issues which you have raised.
Okay. You see, the NSA is more or less the National Coordinator of Security. So in his position, I think he's giving directive to the security chiefs, the head of the security agencies, the police, the military, and the other paramilitary. I take that as a directive, as an order to them to go out there and rein in these guys. That's what I understand by that. Because when you have the coordinator, the man that has the opportunity of seeing all the reports from the police, from the military, from others, as the national coordinator of security. So when he talks in that manner, I see him as talking from the background, first of all, from the information that he has, and then a call to action, more action, not that they are not acting. I see that as giving order. And when he speaks, I think he's also speaking on behalf of the federal, the top echelon. That's the directive that the NSA is giving.
But from the bulk of what you have seen so far, you are now calling for action to back up the talk, if I'm getting you correctly. Or because you're also talking about further communication, you want a sort of assurance. But some people will say, oh, we've heard some communication from the NSA, we've heard some communication from the IGP, you know, and all of this are pointing to that area. It does seem that from what we're seeing, there is some talk, but not sufficient action to be able to back up this talk.
Yeah, I think what they are calling is for more action, not that there are no action, certainly. But I know Nigerians want to see those that attacked the INEC office in Ebonyi apprehended. Nigerians want to see those that attacked INEC offices in Osun and Ogun State apprehended. And then it gives them more assurance. I think that's what Nigerians are calling for, because I'm not just talking about empty communication. I'm saying that there are actions they have taken to prevent those attacks. Those measures, it is possible there were also clashes when this happened. I think Nigerians will just want to know. That's the point I'm trying to make. I am not saying there are no actions, because all INEC offices are provided, because you must have we must provide physical security for the INEC staff. You must provide physical security for INEC assets, which includes buildings and equipment. It is impossible that a DPO will not have deployment.
If I could just follow up on that communication bit.
Yes.
Wasn't it the same thing while you were in service? It hasn't changed. So why was it the case that they don't communicate as much?
No, well, what I want to say is this. When I listen to the spokesperson, when I listen to INEC, it gives...
I mean, with the police now, within the police.
Yeah, within the police. Well, the first PRO has been issuing statements. But I think people want to see, in Olu, there was attack, so-and-so arrests were made, and then the case is being investigated, and then prosecution is ongoing. I think people want to see that more.
So I didn't say that you said that there was no action. I said you're calling for more action, or you're calling for communication backed up with action.
Yes, because I know that there are all these places, there are deployments. And when these people went there to attack the facility, like in Ebonyi, for example, I am sure they must have had encounter with the police there. And if, for example, in the unlikely event that the officers deployed in those locations were not there when these people came, I know action is also ongoing. These are things that can be communicated, to the public. This office was attacked. We observed so and so, and this is the action we are taking. I think people of the populace, the public, to ensure that there is a deliberate and intentional effort to protect them. They need to hear what you are doing.
The populace will know when action has been taken, because we believe that when action is taken, the police always makes it a point of duty to communicate. They let us know when it is that those people have been apprehended. But so far, as you have mentioned, in all of the attacks that have taken place, we haven't heard any of these things. So it does appear that there's been a lot of talk, but you know, very little action, especially on these issues which you have raised, backing it up. And let me take you to task on this issue of partisanship, the fear that a lot of people have, or some people have, about, you know, security agencies being used for untoward purposes. What are some of the steps you think need to be taken to be able to show that in any election, the police, not just the police now, but security agencies will play a very neutral role? How can the security agencies, you know, buoy the confidence of the public that they're there to be neutral and just ensure that elections are conducted in a safe environment?
But I think that is ongoing. If you listen to the President, Commander-in-Chief, let me start from there. At the United Nations General Assembly in New York, he was very clear. The security agencies will be apolitical, and he will bequeath to the nation a free, fair, and credible election. And then, speaking to the police management team, from commissioners of police to the IG, he repeated the same thing. Police be apolitical. Yesterday he was in Sokoto. He stated the same thing. So the service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police have no other reason but to follow the step and the directive of the Commander-in-Chief. And I said that. And I think I am aware that there are deliberate efforts by the Inspector General of Police to embark on massive training of personnel, right from the very junior rank of the inspectorate rank of the commissioners of police. And they are being given booklets, containing clear directives on what they are expected to do. So training is ongoing. And once training out, these are the things, this is professionalism, you know, that is being given to them. And also, the Interagency Consultative Committee on National Security, which the IG and the chairman INEC chairs, they are meeting. I think they met just last week or so to look at all that is going on. So I have every confidence, you know, that the police and other security agencies are working to be clearly impartial. And how are they going about that? I think if you come to look at it this way, once there are applications for campaigns, they provide security for all the campaigns, as far as I'm aware. And I think that is one aspect. Because in the build-up to the election, it is not possible that if you give license to Party A, or you provide security for Party A, and you don't provide for Party B, then something happens. If the billboard of a candidate is destroyed, and a report is brought to you, and the suspect is there, and you don't go arrest, I think that will not happen. So I think from what I am aware, the directive of the Inspector General of Police to all the police personnel is whatever report is brought, it should be done with impartially and in a way that it will not be seen that you are backing any political party.
But do you consider the statements of the president which you, referred to, is it sufficient? Because even after that, we have still seen states, opposition parties in states complain of police not being neutral in carrying out their responsibility.
Yeah, you see, all these things, these are issues you document and make a formal report.
To who? To the police themselves, who are the ones who's going to hold them accountable?
I have been in a position that some of these things are individual things and are based on your professional background. Unless there are other connections, might be for corrupt purposes or other things. But I'm aware that I have worked with this Inspector General of Police. We work together at various... so I know that he is a fair-minded individual.
Yeah, but...
And I'm also aware that the directive the President has given, he is very dead serious about it. I am very certain about it. So if the Chief of Army Staff or Chief of Defense Staff or the IG or the NSCDC or DSS or whatever, they're on their own. But the directive of the president,
for you,
yes.
Because yes, you refer to the statement of the president, that of the IGP, who are fair-minded persons, but we know that it's going to take just those two fair-minded persons to correct the ills within the force.
Yes.
What should we do to ensure that we don't just rely on strong individuals, to ensure that institutions are not beholden to any individual? Because there could be a president or an IGP who may not be fair-minded. What then happens to the force? They pander to the whims and caprices of the president or the IGP?
The force has processes for dealing with issues. And these issues don't die. So if you now compromise, it doesn't die because the records are there. And so my advice to the public, therefore, would be that once you have such, you document them and you make a formal complaint. They will be investigated. You see, when you are dealing with law enforcement, there are processes and procedures that it could take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. The matter will still be investigated. That is part of it's all part of community policing, that everybody has a stake. And having this stake is not to allow that somebody else is going to do it.
Not that I'm being pessimistic.
Yes.
When you say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
No.
We have several cases of unresolved murders in this country, notable journalists, several persons who have been killed. Nobody is held accountable. Nothing has come up of those.
I want you to realize that in modern times, technology has a big role to play, either from forensics, information.
Does police have forensics?
Oh, very robust. The Nigeria police has one of the best today, I think, on the West Coast, has one of the best forensic science. The German GIZ, over the past 4 or 5 years, I was part of the process of that training. That was part of the German government support to Nigeria and the Nigeria police force. So I can say with confidence there is forensic science is well established in the NPF. And so some of these matters that you see can be properly investigated.
So, but you started out with talking about intelligence.
Yes.
So why is it that is still a challenge, that police cannot foil some of these attacks? They end up happening because after the one in Ogun, the police said, well, we were caught pants down this time. Next time, it will never happen again. And weeks after, we'll have another one.
Yeah, I want you to approach the issue of intelligence from a multi-dimensional perspective. Why do I say that? The public also has a role to play. These guys are no ghosts.
But the police has to earn the trust of the public.
Yeah, but and that is the area of community policing which has been entrenched in the MPF. That these are problems that the community, that once there is robust partnership, the problem solving, the police and public coming together to solve this problem. So if you look at intelligence as only coming from the police and the public not having an important role, the public has an important role to play. But they usually come with, when we tell the police, this happens. So the public, people should come forward and tell the police, we have some guys in this area, we don't know what they do. We don't know whether they are responsible for some of these incidents. And then, because these are, there are security threats that will emerge. The DSS will supply the MPF, and there is a lot of sharing of information among the security agencies. And from the feeds, they also take from the public. These are processed, become actionable intelligence. So it is occurring, but I want you to also understand there are limitations of the police in terms of human resources, in terms of equipment. I have always stated it, even right here in your studio, that where you have about 300 police personnel in the police division, you see 3 or 4 vehicles, you know we're not serious. Because how are they going to be able to respond? What quantity of fuel do you give them?
So funding and welfare is key as well.
So it is also important that funding, welfare, equipment will help the police. So once you have, there are occasions, somebody brings a report, you can't move.
Well, there's a fundamental challenge about the structure of policing. So that I think that speaks to the heart of the entire matter. Let's bring in Lagos Studios. Go ahead, guys.
Thank you, Chamberlain. I just want to very quickly, take on that intelligence angle. I'm glad you started it out, Chamberlain. Mr. Enelugu, going specifically to addressing insecurity, especially during the elections, not a few times, quite a number of times, the police always lets us know that, look, we know that there is going to be an increased threat to security as we build up to the elections. That's something that the police has done quite sometimes. In fact, almost every state, virtually every state in the country, there's always that yellow, red, green, or whatever colors you code each state with, that, the level of security and all of that. But there is also one word that the NSA used, and I think we've heard the police use that word as well, which is that of thugs being used by politicians. Speaking intelligence, how difficult is it for the police or the intelligence community in the country to trace the thugs that perpetrate election insecurity to specific politicians or money bags who sponsor them?
These are the product of investigation, because when you investigate a matter, you must be able to link the suspect with the crime. Now, you make an arrest of a supposed thug. Once you have this thug in your custody and you are investigating, you've got to be able to establish a nexus between that thug and his sponsor. And if it is found that he is sponsored, it becomes a conspiratorial crime.
Okay, so Mr. Elenglegu, since 1999 until now, just a quick one, Mr. Elenglegu, because we are rounding off. Since 1999 until now, have there been such connections between one thug or the other and a particular politician or sponsor since 1999 until now?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, several arrests have been made. And I remember one particular set in the North Central where one notorious individual was suspected to be a thug. I remember everything was done, he was apprehended, and I think either he was charged or so. I think a lot of people that are believed to have engaged in such toward act have been arrested. I don't have the statistics right here in the studio, but it is correct to say that such people have been arrested.
Yes.
And where there has been a linkage to whoever sponsored them. Because you can come, this person is sponsoring this, you must have had evidence. If you don't have had evidence, you are not going to be able to prosecute.
So essentially then, Mr. Enelugu, you're saying that it will be practically impossible, okay, maybe I should be softer, difficult for the police to stop election insecurity simply because we cannot connect the thugs or the people who foment these election insecurity in various communities all over the nation to specific people whose interests that they are serving. Is that what you're saying?
No. You see, you must commend the security forces, especially the MPF, in carrying out special operations. Once elections are coming, you develop a threat analysis, and certain people and certain areas that you believe some people of questionable character could be. Such special operations are carried out. They are screened. They are investigated. If they are found culpable, if offensive weapons and other things are found in their possession, they are apprehended, investigated, and prosecuted. A lot of measures that the police and other security agencies are taking, without those actions, without the disruptions of those activities, you would have had more cases. So it is not correct to say that those people have been left just released to to cause mayhem, to unleash mayhem. That's not true. So the point I'm taking is that a lot of arrests are being made. These guys are being investigated.
We hear you.
So,
but
as to be able to link, I think some have been, I believe, but I don't have any statistics as I speak.
Will it be tantamount to taking the NSA and the IGB and the president for granted if another attack were to happen either in INEC office or any thug preventing people from campaigning?
3 of us are in the studio here. For example, we are 4, 5, 6. Can you tell me who is capable of doing something next? So, once we do, what the security forces do is to call for the cooperation
but if
of the
another
public.
attack were to happen, that would be taken down for granted,
you can never. A lot of our attacks have also been prevented.
Yeah,
in the 774 local government areas.
If it were to happen again, they will be taking, they'll be calling their bluff. That's what they will
No. But as we speak today, as I sit in your studio to speak, and I think some guys out there are listening, people, officers, personnel are not sleeping. They are doing everything possible to apprehend these bad guys, these enemies of the society.
We encourage them to
these
keep
dangers to our society. They are being apprehended.
All right, Mr.
But we need to tell you that this is being done. And they have been done.
And we also need to hear that this has been prevented such that there will be no attack seen to happen wheresoever and thugs arrested if they prevent any party from campaigning. Thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you, Mr. Naligu.